Welcome, everybody. My name is Sharon Holly. I am a certified yoga therapist. I'm always trying something a little bit different. I thought I could get something to work today. And anyway, here we are. So welcome. Grateful to be here, grateful for you, and to know that today we're talking about navigating the nervous system. And so in navigating the nervous system, we can help to support our bodies and our minds, our whole being. And that's where the yoga comes into place, okay? So many of you have heard me talk a little bit about the nervous system. And, there's different cycles that we go through. And what we call the stress relaxation cycle. And I'm here to let you know that it's important to understand that it's natural for our bodies to go through the stress relaxation cycle. And so we start at our regular kind of, we call it social engagement. And that's when we're feeling kind of relaxed, joyful, even mood, curious mind, all that good stuff. And then maybe we get a phone call, something happens in our day, and we start to escalate up into what we call fight or flight. So we're moving out of what is parasympathetic nervous system. Some of you may have already heard me talk about that a little bit, into sympathetic nervous system. Now, that is our body's natural response to take care of things, to move in the world. If we didn't have that, we'd probably just want to relax and stay in bed all day, and we wouldn't get anything done. So we do need the sympathetic nervous system. But when the nervous system is reacting or responding to something that is not conducive to what is happening. So if we overreact, say, we don't even think we are, but later we look back and say, what was that such a big deal? That's when we kind of want to take a look at what's going on. Or if we're having a big reaction and it's not something we didn't really want to have that big reaction. And so this enables us to come up with some tools, so you get to choose which ones work best for you, that will help you navigate your nervous system, okay? So if we start to notice our heart starts beating really fast, we start to get sweaty, so our pupils will dilate. These are things that if we were out in the wilderness, I like to say this is like back in caveman days, and a big animal was coming out, I was thinking about a lion, right, was coming at us, and our body's getting ready to turn on. All the blood's pumping to our muscles, right? So that's why they're getting tight and our heart's racing, so we can go ahead and take care of ourselves. It's part of what we call the autonomic nervous system, which is automatic. Our body automatically switches to protect it, to protect itself, to take care of ourselves, okay? So just knowing that when this starts happening, we know, oh, I'm shifting. Now, again, if it's something that happens that we're like, I don't really need to have this reaction right now, we can use some of our tools, our breathing, our mindfulness tools. Now, if we go to the extent that we keep moving up in this cycle of things keep happening, like throughout the day. Have you ever had one of those days you're like, I just can't take one more thing? When that happens, that's when the body will go into a freeze state. And that's when it shuts down. That's when we're in overwhelm. We just can't do anything else. And there are sometimes we just have to let our body be there. That's okay, especially when we're going through treatments, right? So please know that this is not like a get yourself out of it, fix the problem. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about taking care of yourself in a way that feels supported, if you feel like you need support. So I'm going to just walk over. I'm going to show you really quickly, see if this will work. Because I hid my thing before because I thought that I was seeing. Let's see if I can share my screen. Oh, that's fun. So it says host disabled the screen sharing, and I thought I was the host. So I have to enable that, and I don't know how to right now. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to share with you. See, I was trying to get all fancy today, and I made it a little more complicated. So anyway, so we go through a cycle. Basically, we go up and we go down. If you're interested in seeing this, some of you who work with me have seen it before, but I'm happy to send it to you. Actually, at some point, I'll have it in my exhibit hall, and but you can always send me a message, and I'm happy to email it to you. So Sharon@SharonHolly.com. But basically, it just gives you an idea of what signs may let you know that your nervous system is escalating. Okay, so I already gave you a few, right? Rapid heart rate, muscles tightening. We might notice that we're getting anxious, fearful, agitated, any of those things, right? This is often going to happen when we're going to get tests, when we're going to get, our testing done, when we're going to visit the doctor. All those are natural and normal responses because our body is protecting itself. So just know that to begin with, okay? But if we're going through the day and at the end of the day, we're feeling completely overwhelmed and exhausted and we're starting to lose things, that's a really good one for me, an indication. When I start to notice that I'm misplacing things or I'm losing things, that's when I know that my body is in a freeze state. It's in this overwhelmed state. And I think it's important to recognize that. So then at that point, I can make a shift. And what happens in these states, as we escalate higher on the stress relaxation cycle, our mind shifts from the executive functioning, the thinking of, oh, this is what's happening to me, to the feeling. And that's why we often don't realize it's happening. So that's why this chart is so beautiful, as it tells you physical, mental, and emotional, as well as social areas that might start to go out of balance. So with that information, maybe just check in for a moment. Notice where you're at. So if it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, maybe just close your eyes for a moment. Or find a soft gaze and look at something that feels easeful and comfortable. And just begin to connect to your body. Notice your body in this moment. What comes into your awareness, right? Perhaps your heart is beating fast. Mine just was. Perhaps you have thoughts, repetitive thoughts moving around. Maybe you're feeling really calm right now. Maybe you're feeling curious about what I'm talking about. Perhaps you've been through the sessions this morning and you're feeling a little overwhelmed. So just noticing where you are without judging it, just with a sense of curiosity. And if it's comfortable for you, again, to close your eyes, you're welcome to have them closed. If not, we can do this with eyes open. So just sensing your feet touching the ground, sensing your body and wherever it's connecting to whatever surface it's sitting on or resting on. And begin to scan up your body for physical sensation. Noticing your spine where it's connecting to the chair. Noticing the back of your head. Becoming aware of your breath. Is it deep or shallow? Fast or slow? Feeling the temperature of the air as it moves in and out of your nose. As you're starting to check in, notice, are there thoughts that are kind of ruminating about, maybe bouncing from one to the next of things we need to do or things we did earlier? Or is there a particular thought that's ruminating that your mind keeps coming back to? We're not looking to create anything here, just noticing if that's true for you. Noticing if there are any feelings that are present in this moment. Right? And with all of these, when you're noticing, maybe there's a neutrality, maybe there isn't anything really going on, that's fine too. So we're not, again, looking to create anything. We're just noticing what is. And then beginning to become aware of your breath once again. Perhaps as you breathe here, see if you can make your exhalation last a little bit longer than your inhalation. This is our extended exhale or settling breath in through the nose and out through the nose or the mouth. And again. And perhaps noticing the number of seconds it takes for you to complete your exhalation. Maybe it's 4 seconds, maybe it's 3, maybe it's 5. And the next time you complete your exhalation, maybe adding on 1 more second. And doing that by slowing down the breath, not trying to force it or push the air out, just slow it down a little bit slower. And then whatever number you kind of land upon, stay there for maybe 2 or 3 more breaths. That nice, slow, long exhalation. Perhaps it's moving, you imagine it moving from the crown of your head down to your toes, releasing any tension. Notice what's happening if you're In your heart, if your heart was racing really fast, notice your breath. Notice your muscles. Maybe they're beginning to relax. Maybe the jaw is beginning to unclench. So just notice what's true. And if nothing's changing, that's okay too. Just notice. And when you're feeling ready, if your eyes aren't already open, go ahead and open your eyes. And we're going to begin to look around the space that you're in. We call this orienting. So just looking around, and notice how I'm turning my whole head, not just my eyes, but my head. And I'm observing, I'm like, oh, I see green over there. I see purple. I see blue. I see a plant. I see the texture of the plant. I see it looks like a little wiry. I can see textures on the floor. I can feel the texture beneath my feet of my yoga mat. Right? So just noticing all of your senses begin to open wide. The temperature of the air on your skin, maybe smells in the air, maybe tastes in the mouth if you've eaten or drank something recently. So we're orienting ourselves to this place, right? These are our orienting muscles, the shoulders and the neck. And so they tend to freeze up. And that's why by moving them, we're shifting the brain out of that it's called the limbic system, a part of the brain, right? And that's the lower part of our brain, the base. By turning our head, we're starting to shift. So we can get back up into executive functioning, where we can start to make choices and thoughts about what we're doing next, okay? So perhaps looking around, maybe you're noticing sounds. What sounds are nearby? Maybe you hear sounds off in the distance. So this is a really wonderful tool to use at any time you're feeling that escalation. And I find it to be one of the easier ones to access the breath and the orienting when we're going into that freeze state. Because again, it's hard to think about what should I do, but I can very quickly just look and see a color. Like, what color do you see? That's the first thing you can ask yourself. And then maybe something else will come in. So I've done this myself in doctor's offices. I've done this in moments where I'm feeling anxious and I'm in front of people, like looking at the color in front of me, like, whoo. And it's really hard for the brain to think about colors and shapes and textures and sounds, and also be concerned about whatever it was concerned about. So it's interesting. So I invite you to play with that one a little bit, right? So the orienting and the settling breath. The first thing we did was grounding, right? And that's really feeling the sensation of your body in every place that it's in. Sometimes that's easier to access, sometimes not. Again, you can do it eyes open or eyes closed. Okay. The next one we're going to do involves a little bit of what I call bilateral stimulation. And it's called the butterfly hug. And what we do is we take our hands, and I like to place my thumbs just like this. So it's kind of like a little crossing of the thumbs. And I know I get into the darkness when I come over too close or like that. But placing the thumbs and then placing the hands right over the heart center. Let me come a little closer here. And we just kind of tap, lifting one hand, fingers, and then the other one, just back and forth. And so what we're doing here is bilateral stimulation is waking up both hemispheres of the brain. So, I'm tapping because I've crossed my hands over. So my right hand's on my left side, my left hand's on my right side. And it's starting to have this calming effect on the nervous system, okay? Now, if the tapping, again, I'm doing this very gently, it can also be just holding the hands here, right? Just very calmly. Now, some people find that their breath is often in their chest, and this might not feel good. Or if you've had surgery recently, this might not feel good. I'm very gentle, by the way, here, but I'm just saying, listen to your body. This is not an end-all answer, right? Some people really like it. They like the idea of a butterfly hugging them. So if you do, think about that. Think about the color of your butterfly. Think about it landing here and bringing you a sense of calm and ease. If that doesn't work for you, then don't do it. The other one that can work sometimes that people prefer lower body is thigh tapping. We can do the same thing here. You can cross your hands over and just tap one hand and then the other. Okay? And what's nice about this, I often say, if we're sitting at a table with people and the table's here, right? Our hands are underneath. People may not even notice that we're doing this. And it can be very grounding, very calming. Again, depending if you're an upper body person or a lower body person. You might like one versus the other. You might just love them both. Okay. And you can also just hold your hands there. If the bilateral stimulation feels weird, you can also just kind of just smooth. Sometimes you've seen me do this when we're lying on our backs. Some of you have taken my classes before, right? We just kind of just gently soothe ourselves by rubbing the tops of the thighs, okay? So those are a couple of possible tools to help down-regulate the nervous system. And I'm going to take you into just a little series. It's going to take probably about the rest of this perfect timing for the rest of this workshop today. And it's a little movement series. And it's not, they're not yoga poses in it, but bring your breath into it, however feels comfortable for you. And the first one is just what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of rocking from side to side. So I'm just shifting my weight over onto the outside of one foot, the inside of another. And I'm going to take a nice long breath. And back to center. And again, you can breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth or the nose. I'll do a nose breath so you can see this. And just shifting from side to side. Again, notice how you feel. Bring that long exhalation in. If for any reason you have issues with your feet, this might not be appropriate for you. So just know that it's okay. Hold on if it's not good. We're going to come back to center. And I'm going to show you another one, which is just our circles, right? Our kind of ankle circles. I'm making circles around my ankles. My feet are touching the ground. My hips are swaying. Maybe a few times in one direction and a few times in the opposite direction. So again, very grounding, waking up the nerve endings on the bottoms of the feet. You might find yourself waiting in line somewhere. You might just find yourself shifting from side to side or making circles. That's it. That's all it is, right? Just very grounding, if that works for you. And then I automatically sometimes end up moving into the next one, which is raising up on the toes and back on the heels. Now, if you need a chair or a wall for support, feel free to use that. Just a little stretch. And the idea is that I'm bringing a little bit of activity into my calves. I can feel my calves working. We don't want to overdo it. So if you've been sitting a lot today and your calves feel super tight, you don't have to do it very long, just as long as you can feel it. Okay, once you can feel that sensation. And by the way, as I'm here, I'm realizing I'm just going to grab my chair, right? Any of these can be done seated. Of course, I showed you the butterfly hug and the thigh sweeping, right? I'm looking here, I'm not sure because it's far away if you can see my feet, but so basically rolling from one side over to the other, circling, right? Coming up on the toes and back on the heels. Everything can be done seated. So just modify if that's feeling more comfortable for you today. As I say, I often I sit so much in my day, I like to stand when I'm doing a lot of these classes. But you are welcome to take care of yourself, okay? So I'm going to move into the next one, which is also bilateral stimulation. This is the arm sweep, okay? So now for this arm sweep, many of us have had lymph nodes removed. So it's really important to sweep from the fingertips up the arm and across the chest, right? And I just sweep one hand and then the other, just sweeping. Remember, for those of you who attended or will be attending the lymphatic system, the lymphedema and yoga class I did, right, talking about how we can support ourselves. It's about moving away from the limbs, moving away from the extremities, right? Because we want the flow to come back into the center of our body, which is where the toxins get filtered through our lymphatic system, right? All right, blood cells. And you can let your arms relax down if it feels like too much to hold them out. So just this nice sweeping one side and then the other. Some people find this to be really soothing and caressing. You can do this in the shower. You can do this anytime sitting in front of the computer, right? Anytime. You can go slower, right? Nice and easy. I'm just kind of bypassing up around in that direction. And then similarly, we can do this for the lower body and be mindful of your back. So I'm just going to scooch my chair over for a moment. So if you have any back issues, be mindful. I'm gonna, I have osteoporosis, so I don't come into a full forward bend. So you'll see I'm gonna take my hands and cross them over. I'm gonna sweep my hands down my legs, let my head, my neck, and my shoulders go, but I'm gonna stay here with a flat back. I'm gonna release my hands, slowly roll up, and I'm gonna switch the cross of my hands. So the hand that was on top is gonna go underneath, and vice versa. So just nice sweep here. One and then the other, letting the head, the neck. Now, if it's okay for you to let your head go all the way down, feel free. See if you can just let it go here, nice and easy. Moving at your pace with your breath. If for any reason this causes discomfort, go ahead and stop. Right? You can do that seated in a chair, of course, as well. I'm just going to stay here because I have one last one. I'm going to show standing first, and then I'll show seated. Okay, so we call this the down-regulating sequence of exercises. They can be done as a series. They can be done individually. And again, I'm happy to share this. Once I'm figuring out all the exhibit booth stuff, I know there's stuff that I can place in there. But again, I'm happy to share if anybody would like this information. So you know how to get in touch with me through the Hoover app or Sharon at SharonHolly.com. So the very last one is for the psoas muscle, for the hip flexor, since we're sitting a lot. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to come into a wide stance. I'm going to come into a sideways position so you can see me. I'm going to take my hands and gently tuck my pelvis under. And then I'm going to swivel over to one side, come back to center, and swivel to the other side, okay? So I'm going to come back and do that again. Now, the idea is that when I do this, you can feel the stretch in the opposite hip. So I'm moving away from this hip. This is where I feel the stretch, okay? And just moving from side to side. So the psoas muscle is really deep in here. It's the one muscle that connects the upper body to the lower body. And it is our fight and flight muscle. It's the one that is helping to support us, to keep us protected, right? We kind of crunch sometimes if we're like, need protection. So that muscle is in a contracted state a lot because we're sitting so much right now. So can we open that up and create space? I do this sometimes in the yoga classes. You'll see if you can come join me, right? So we're going to be starting our 10-day program on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. We'll be here every day at 2 o'clock doing a practice, yoga practice, every day for 10 days starting Wednesday. So think about that. If that works for you, you can always watch the video. Coming back to center. If you're finding you're having trouble with that, just keep practicing. You can always send me a message. I'll tend to sometimes retuck again if it feels like I'm having trouble, because sometimes it's just a little bit of an adjustment. And then come back and just kind of shake everything out and check in. And notice, how are you feeling now? Did your heartbeat change, or your breath, or your thought process, or your emotions? Did anything change? And if it didn't, that's okay too, but just notice, even throughout. So again, these can be done as a series. They can be done individually. Anytime you think of it, you can just sweep, you can tap. What is it that's going to bring your body to a calm place? You might already have your own tools to do this, your own resources, right? Maybe you like to go out in nature. Maybe you take a big breath of fresh air. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this session today. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to bring my palms together at my heart center. Take this moment of gratitude for you as you take this moment of gratitude for yourself, for taking this time in your day to learn about the nervous system, bring a sense, hopefully, of peace, calm, and ease into your day, carrying it with you into the rest of your day and your evening. Namaste. So again, I thank you all. And again, my name is Sharon Holly. We'll be back here tomorrow. I believe it's 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock to provide support with sleep. So if you're having trouble sleeping, I'm going to give you some nice mindful and breathing techniques to help with sleep. All right, take good care. I'll see you soon.